Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for this session. So this session is suitable for anyone, no matter if you've done yoga before or if you're a complete beginner. So just sitting on your mat, on the sit bones, make sure you're really sitting up nice and tall for this beginning part. So the spine's tall and long and the top of your head is up towards the ceiling, like there's a string holding that there, the chin slightly tucked. And you can be cross-legged or you can have your legs out in front of you, just where you feel comfortable. And the hands just rest on the knees or in the lap. Again, just a place where you can feel like you can just sit still. And we're first going to come to the breathing. So we're going to take some really mindful breaths and really think about how we breathe. So closing down the eyes or gazing softly at a point in front of you. We're just going to start to notice the breath and see where it's at today. So not trying to change it at first, but just seeing whether it's fast or if it's slow. If it feels high up in the chest or low down in the belly. Are you breathing through your mouth or through your nose? We're just observing that, not trying to place any emotion or judgment on it. And once you've observed this, blinking open the eyes if they're closed, and putting one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. And we're now going to focus on some deep breathing. So we're going to work out a healthy way to breathe when a lot of us will be doing what's called reverse breathing. So we've been socially kind of constructed to hold our abdomen in when we breathe, when we're out, keep ourselves tucked in. When really, in a healthy way to breathe, you'd breathe through the nose, let it go all the way down the chest into the belly, which would inflate before deflating on the exhale. So we're going to try and reverse the effects of doing reverse breathing now and see if we can get into the habit of breathing in a good, healthy way. So inhaling through the nose nice and slowly, feeling that top hand on the chest rise up before feeling that bottom hand on the belly rise also like a balloon, so inflating that belly like a balloon. Holding at the top for a second before exhaling, feeling the belly first lower down, then the chest, and feeling that air exit through the throat, through the nose, out into the surroundings. So just taking a few cycles like this. And if you have been doing reverse breathing before, it's probably something that feels quite unnatural to do, this breath. So we're really concentrating on getting this movement. So we're inhaling through the nose. Chest comes up first. Belly inflates as far out as it can go. For exhaling again through the nose, nice and slowly. Belly exhales, goes down, deflates. Then the chest. And this breathing I'm going to try and maintain throughout the whole of the class. So if you ever lose the focus on the breath, just coming back to it, because yoga, the word yoga means to yoke, so it's the yoking, the combining, the uniting of movement with the breath. So it's not like another exercise where you're just doing the movements. It's really important to keep the breath with the movement and keeping that really considered. So inhaling, reach the arms up, stretch them towards the ceiling. Or exhaling, lowering that left hand towards the ground and bending over to one side. So we're not trying to get ourselves all the way to the floor, we're just warming ourselves up here, so being gentle with the body. Inhaling as you come to centre, exhaling, taking it to the other side. So the important thing here is to keep the chest nice and open, so we're getting a twist through the chest so it goes up towards the ceiling. And again, to moving with your breath, so exhaling, bending to that side, reaching those fingers across the opposite wall. Inhaling, coming to centre, stretching up, exhaling, lowering those arms down, letting those rest on the knees. We're going to take seated cat-cow. So on the inhale, the chest is going to come forward, gaze goes up slightly, like we're looking to maybe where the point where the wall meets the ceiling. Inhaling here, for exhaling, we're going to tuck the chin, arch the back. Then ourselves curl under, keeping the hands nice and soft so we're not pulling with the hands. Inhaling to come forwards. Exhaling to go back. And coming back to centre, we're going to come round into a tabletop position. So bringing the knees and the hands underneath your body and just padding out to find a place where you feel most supported. So finding where that place is, so we've got engagement through the hands, engagement through the knees, so it feels quite active. We're not hanging here, we're really pressing into the ground. And we're getting a nice flat back, so we're trying not to let the back dip or arch. We're trying to get that back so it's flat, as if someone's going to put a tray of drinks on your back, they wouldn't slide off and spill. So finding that place here, we're then going to take the same movements that we've just done but in this other position. So inhale and drop in the belly, gaze comes forward. Nice deep breaths, again all the way down into the belly. For exhaling, pressing through the hands, pressing through the feet. Tucking the chin. Inhaling to come forwards. Exhaling to come back into cat. And some people the breath works better the other way around, so exhaling as you come forwards into cow and inhaling as you press back into cat. So we're really focused on connecting to the breath here, so figuring out which way you prefer and feels most natural. We're then going to come into centre when you feel like you've gone both ways an even amount. So readjusting the hands and the knees if you need to. Coming into that nice strong tabletop again. We're going to shuffle the left hand in towards the centre slightly and inhale, peel that right hand off the ground, opening up the chest and stretching that hand up towards the ceiling, fingers nice and active. Exhaling, we're going to thread that arm underneath the other, letting the head rest on the ground for a second. We're inhaling, twisting back open. And taking this movement a few more times with your own breath. And with this last one, we're going to thread underneath and we're going to rest here for a second. So leaving this hand, this left hand where it is, or if you want a bit more of a stretch, bringing it up, clawing the ground. So we're getting a stretch through that shoulder. Or if you'd like to take a bind We're going to bring that arm up over the back of the body and rest that back of hand on the opposite thigh. And we're keeping the hips nice and central here, so if they've swung out to either side, just trying to centre in on the body, feel if that's happened and bringing it back into centre. If we've taken the bind, bringing that shoulder out, opening it to get a bit more of extra stretch. Breathing here. Again, nice deep breaths all the way down into the belly through the nose. And exhaling, undoing that bind or bringing that hand back in towards the face. We're going to inhale, twist open again for exhaling, lowering that hand down, planting it on the mat for taking it the opposite direction, opposite side. So bringing that right hand in slightly this time. We're going to inhale, open up, lifting that right hand up towards the ceiling, the left hand, sorry, and exhaling, threading underneath. Inhaling to stretch up, open up, exhaling. And a couple more times on this side. Again, going at your own pace, you don't need to match me. You don't need to match anyone else who you may be practicing with. And this time, as we lower down, taking that rest at the bottom, so taking extra stretch if you'd like to by clawing the ground with that right hand, or if we're taking that bind, lifting the arm up across the back and resting the back of that hand on the left thigh. And taking some nice deep breaths here, slowing the breath down if it's quickened. Breathing into anywhere which feels stretched or tight. And exhaling, bringing that hand back down in front of the face if it's not already there. And inhaling, pressing into that hand, opening out again. Exhaling, bringing that hand back down to the mat, and we're going to come down into a child's pose. So bringing the hands out in front of you, exhaling, bringing the belly onto the knees, forehead comes to the ground, and there's a few options with what you can do with your hands here. So you can either keep them out in front of you, nice and relaxed for something more restorative, or if you want to press into the hands so they're engaged, and for the elbows to come off the floor for something a bit more active. Or you can bring the hands out behind you and rest them, fingers just lightly brushing the feet. And here, as we breathe, you might like to roll the forehead across the mat to give the temples a bit of a massage. It's somewhere where a lot of us carry tension. And if you're one of those people, this probably feels really good. And when you're ready, bringing the forehead back into centre, arms come out in front of you if they're not already there. We're going to inhale, tuck the toes, press into the hands and the feet and come up into a downward facing dog. So again, like we did in tabletop, padding out here so your hands and your feet feel like they're somewhere where you feel most supported. Keeping the hands nice and active, so pressing through the hands so the shoulders are strong. We shouldn't be collapsing down here, particularly if you're flexible. Nice strong pose. And padding out the feet here. This is probably the first downward dog that many of you will be doing today. So the backs of the legs might feel quite tight. So we're walking the dog, and if you're finding that your feet, your heels aren't reaching all the way to the floor, not worrying. Taking a nice generous bend in the knees so we can keep the back nice and long and straight, which is the most important thing in this pose. Finding a couple of breaths of stillness here. Remembering to breathe all the way down into the belly. And then inhaling, we're going to take that left leg up and out behind us in a three-legged dog. We're exhaling, bringing that through the centre of the body and planting that foot in between the hands, helping it along with the hands if it doesn't quite reach. Exhaling, lowering that leg down, untucking the toes. And inhaling, we're going to sweep the arms up and above us. Hands nice and active, breathing here, and again making sure that the legs are nice and strong and engaged, particularly if you're flexible, so we're not collapsing into that hip and letting the weight come down, but really gathering the energy up from the ground, bringing it through the feet, up through the legs, through the body, through the arms, up towards the ceiling. Breathing here. And exhaling, we're going to take one hand in front of us, one hand behind, so we're twisting here from the centre of the body. Inhaling to centre, and exhaling, twisting to the opposite side. Nice and slow movements, teamed with the breath. Inhaling to centre, reaching up, for exhaling, lowering the arms down, planting that right hand by the left foot, and inhaling, reaching that left hand up towards the ceiling in a twist. Inhaling and exhaling, lowering that hand down, planting that into the mat, tucking the back toes, and exhaling, bringing that left foot back to meet the right in another downward facing dog. Taking any movements here, any twists, if that feels good, or just having a few breaths in stillness. For inhaling, we're going to raise that right leg up towards the ceiling, the three-legged dog, and exhaling, bringing it through the centre of the body, planting that foot in between the hands, exhaling, lowering that back leg, untucking the toes, and inhaling, bring the arms out behind us, and then sweeping them up so the fingers are reaching up towards the ceiling. Feeling that opposite energy of reaching up and also grounding through the legs into the mat. Really feeling that engagement through the legs. And exhaling, we're going to take this twist again. So one hand goes in front, one hand behind. Inhaling to centre. Exhaling, twisting the opposite way. And we're really generating that twist from the centre of the body. So imagining if we're like a towel that we're wringing out, the centre of the body, we're wringing that, really generating the twist from there. Inhaling centre, exhaling, floating those hands down, planting the left, and inhaling, reaching the right up towards the ceiling in a twist. Exhaling, lowering that hand down, Now tuck the back toes. Bring that leg back to meet the other in another downward dog for a couple of breaths. Exhaling, tiptoeing the feet towards the hands. And when we're here, taking hold of opposite elbows and really letting your head and your arms hang heavy. Keeping a soft bend in the knees so we're not locking them out. Maybe you'd like to sway here. Or just hang and breathe in a moment of stillness. Before letting those hands go, inhaling and exhaling, we're going to roll really slowly up. And at the bottom of the exhale, we need to inhale again, pausing where you're at. Inhaling before exhaling, continuing that rolling up, head comes up last. And once you're there, all the way at the top, you come into a strong mountain pose. So that's a standing pose. So planting the feet into the mat, feeling like we've got a really strong footprint here. So if we were standing on sand, you'd see the whole of your footprint, each of your toes on the mat, on the sand. Chest is nice and open, gaze is at a comfortable point in front of you, shoulders rolled back, hands nice and active, palms facing in or out to the front. Standing here and then really rooting into that left leg. We're going to pull that leg in, hugging it in, getting that feeling before peeling the right toes off the floor. Balancing here, and if you're comfortable here and you want to try something else, maybe bringing that foot onto the calf or bringing that foot all the way onto the left thigh in a tree pose. So all of these variations of tree pose, one is not better than the other. We're just exploring which one feels good, which one makes you feel most connected to your body in a positive way. So bring your hands into the chest, prayer position, keeping the gaze on something nice and stable and still in front of us. Breathing here, really feeling that rootedness, that connection to the ground. And then we're going to try and challenge ourselves by releasing that foot, that right foot, from the left leg without touching the ground, trying to tip forwards into a warrior three. So the upper body comes down towards the mat, gaze goes towards the mat, and the right leg extends out behind us, foot flexed. Breathing here, feeling that energy, that heat that's building up in the standing leg. Just connecting to that. That's not weakness if you're shaking, that's just the energy coming through your body. Embracing that. Embracing the sensations that are happening that mean that you're alive and that you're connected to your body. Embracing the challenge. If you're wobbling out of it, coming back into it. And then exhaling, we're going to bring that leg back up again, trying not to rest it on the floor, but not worrying if we need to. Hugging that knee into the chest, holding that knee with the left hand for exhaling, bringing that right hand out behind us in a little twist. And if you're feeling really balanced, or like you want to really challenge yourself, bringing your gaze to follow that hand behind you. Inhaling and exhaling, letting that leg return to the floor. Nice and stable, calm movements. And then once you're there, giving that left leg a bit of a shake out. Let that energy, that heat dissipate. Before we're going to take that to the other side. So coming into that mountain again. Standing here, rooting into the ground, connecting to the floor. We're going to plant into that right leg, hug that leg up into the body. Get that sensation, that engagement through the leg. And start to peel that foot off the floor, the left foot. Keeping the toes on the ground. And choosing where you'd like that foot to be. So keeping it there. Bring it onto the calf, or again, if you want to take it a bit further, placing it on the right thigh and bringing your hands into the chest. And this side is going to be different from the other side. We're not symmetrical. A lot of animals aren't symmetrical and have a favoured side, just like a person is right or left-handed. So one side will be more challenging than the other. And we're trying not to place judgment on that. We're just, again, connecting to our body. Getting to know our body a bit better. Knowing which side does what. And not placing any judgment on that, or negative emotion. Exhaling. We're going to peel that foot off again. Come into that warrior three, so tipping the body nice and slowly so we can keep our balance. Front of the body, top half of the body goes down towards the mat. Leg comes out behind us, flexing that foot, nice and strong, keeping the gaze steady, not forgetting those deep breaths, holding it here. If we wobble out, setting ourselves back up again and coming straight back into it. Exhaling, coming back up, trying not to place that foot on the floor. Maybe bringing a smile to our face if we're feeling the burn like I am. Bringing that knee into chest, holding onto that knee with the right hand. Exhaling, bring the left hand out behind us if we want a bit of a twist. Holding it here just for a couple more breaths. And exhaling, gently letting that leg go. And shaking that leg out. Dissipate that energy. Bring a bit of feeling back into the leg. Before bringing our legs slightly wider than hip distance apart, I'm going to turn the toes out slightly. Bringing the hands into chest again, to that prayer position. And exhaling, we're going to slowly lower down into a squat. So again, if your heels don't reach the floor, not worrying. Keeping those lifted, or maybe getting a blanket or a pillow, whatever you've got nearby, and place them underneath the heels to give you a bit more support. Maybe using the elbows to press the knees further apart and get a bit more of a stretch in those thighs. Remembering those deep breaths all the way down into the belly. Holding this here for a few breaths, maybe taking some movement, some shifts side to side if that feels good. Before letting the hands go and coming down to the mat, whatever way you can. Just doing it mindfully and slowly, if not gracefully. Shifting yourself down So you're lying on your back, keeping the soles of the feet flat on the floor. I'm going to come into some bridges. So letting my hands go down the mat, palms pressed into the floor. You might need to adjust how far your feet are away from your body. So, but again, just thinking, where do I feel most supported? Where do my feet need to be for that to happen? Shuffling shoulders away from the ears. And inhaling, exhaling. On the exhale, we're going to press into the feet. So again, getting that sensation of if you were standing in sand, you'd leave a footprint, a whole footprint in the sand. Inhaling to let that go. Exhaling, pressing into the feet again. So we're getting like a pelvic tilt here. So we're not coming into a bridge. Getting this small sensation, this small movement. Inhaling to release it. So it doesn't look from the outside like we're doing that much, but we're really engaging through the feet and the legs. Getting that sensation that we need to generate a bridge. Inhaling to release, and on your next exhale, pressing into the feet again, getting that pelvic tilt, but then letting that movement travel all the way up the spine. Pressing into the feet, making sure the knees don't splay out, keeping those nice and central, in towards the centre of the body. Letting the weight roll up in across the shoulders. Exhaling to lower down vertebrae by vertebrae. And really moving with the breath here. So inhaling, pressing into the feet, getting that sensation, letting that travel up the back rather than focusing on lifting the back up towards the ceiling. Taking it as high as you'd like to go. Seeing if you can relax the muscles of the bum and let the legs do all the work. And exhaling slowly as you can. Just a couple more times here. Pausing at the top for a second for exhaling, lowering down, hugging the knees into the chest, having a bit of a roll on the back of the pelvis to massage any tension that's crept up there. So taking the circles one way and then the other. Then bringing the arms out to shoulder height, so spreading them out across the floor, opening the palms up towards the ceiling. We're going to exhale and slowly lower the knees over to the left hand side. So we're going to twist here. Inhaling, really filling the body full of air, and exhaling, we're going to bring that right arm up and over the body to meet the left. And then inhaling, we're going to stroke that right arm up the left. Stroking across the chest. At the top of the inhale, we open that right arm out so we're twisted up towards the ceiling with the chest again. Exhaling, closing that shape up. Inhaling to stroke across the arm, feeling that skin on skin contact or skin on clothing, feeling all the sensations that brings, all the shapes and textures of your body. Really filling yourself full of air as you open up and expand. Or exhaling to close that shape down. Just a couple more times on this side. Maybe closing down the eyes to really feel into this movement. And the next time you've opened up with your arms stretched out, you're going to bring the knees back into the centre and then take it to the opposite side. So exhaling, lowering the knees to the right hand side. Inhaling here and exhaling, bringing that left arm up and over the body to meet the right palm. Inhaling to stroke that left hand up the right arm, over the chest, opening up and expanding the body through the movement and the breath, really making yourself as large as you can, inside and out. But exhaling, closing that shape up. Inhaling to open and exhaling to close. And always moving at your own pace with your own breath. And as we stroke across the body, feeling the change in temperature, whether you're touching the skin or the cloth. And this time, as you inhale to open up, bringing the knees into the centre and taking hold of them and giving yourself a big hug. Maybe exhaling and bringing the forehead towards the knees. Inhaling to release again. And we're just going to take some final movements before we come into our final resting position, which is Shavasana. So a nice one to end with is Happy Baby. So if you bring the knees in towards the chest, we're going to flex the feet and turn the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling and catching hold of the calves or the feet. We're going to apply a light pressure through the hands and bring the knees down closer to the floor, but making sure we keep the tailbone nice and long, so that's going that direction towards the wall while the knees come down into the mat. And like the name suggests, Happy Baby, we're going to keep this nice and playful. So rolling here if that feels good, straining one leg and then the other, maybe rolling backwards and forwards, just whatever your body asks you for, whatever feels good, whatever feels natural. And once we've finished here, letting the feet go, taking any extra stretches or putting on any extra layers that you feel you might want, so we're nice and comfortable and warm. It's quite nice to have a blanket on in Shavasana because that little bit of extra weight really helps you relax and keep the shoulders down onto the mat. So stretching the legs out a bit wider than the mat, or so you're on the edges of the mat. Doing the same with the arms and opening the palms up towards the ceiling. Shuffling the shoulders away from the ears. And if you feel like you can't relax here on your back, that's completely fine. You can either lie on your front or on your side, or if you feel better sitting upwards, you can sit, but making sure you're nice and planted on your sit bones and the back's nice and long and your legs are in a position where you feel like you can stay for 10 minutes without moving. So keeping them crossed, or maybe they're better out in front of you. Maybe you'd like to lean your back against a wall. We're just coming to that resting position and closing down the eyes or gazing softly at a point in front of you. Taking a bit of a body scan to see if you're holding on to tension anywhere that you don't need to. Really letting the ground come up to meet your body and hold and support you there. To taking that body scan and breathing in and relaxing and letting go anywhere where you're holding on, where you don't need to. So maybe the muscles around the eyes, just softening those, or around the jaw. If you're holding tension in the fingers or the toes, the abdomen or the hips, just letting that tension go and letting your breath come to a natural pace, a natural rhythm, letting that breathing technique go. And I'm going to invite you to join me in a visualization. If at any point you're not enjoying it or you don't feel comfortable, just coming out of it, and you can either watch the visuals that are on the screen without my voice by turning the sound off. But if you'd like to join me in this visualization, just letting your body relax where it is. I'd like you to imagine that you're standing at the mouth of a cave. And we're looking into the darkness of this cave and the stepping stones that lead across the water into it. We're first going to stand on the first stepping stone. Then the second stepping stone. Third stepping stone. And as you look down, you can see that there's fish swimming in the water underneath. Fourth stepping stone. Fifth stepping stone. You're starting to enter into the dusky darkness. Sixth stepping stone. Seventh stepping stone. Eighth stepping stone. And we're almost at the back of the cave. Ninth stepping stone. 10th stepping stone. And you're now at the back of the cave, standing on the rocky ground beneath you, leaning your back against the wall behind you. Standing in this darkness, letting your eyes adjust and your body be comfortable and held by this surrounding darkness. And imagining what this rock behind your back feels like. What's its texture, its shape? Can you feel the temperature of the rock through your clothes? What does this rock smell like? And now noticing the sounds of this cave. The sounds of the water dripping from the roof into the water below. Listening to this water dripping onto the rocks and the different sound this makes. Listening to the rhythms of these drops. And maybe you can feel a splash of this water on your skin. breathing in this cool, damp air and all the smells of the plants around you outside the cave. Breathing that in and noticing that. Letting yourself be comfortable and held by this darkness, which is nurturing to your mind and to your body. And feeling your feet rooted into the ground beneath you, which is solid and unchanging. Just listening and feeling. Letting yourself be held. We're now going to leave this place, leave this cave, counting down through the stepping stones which we came through. And as you place one foot in front of the other, trusting your body, trusting your feet, trusting your sense of balance and direction, trusting your breath. And as we move through this darkness, it may be tempting to look back or to become unsure of yourself. But resisting this temptation, knowing that you brought yourself here and that you can bring yourself out. Trusting yourself and your instincts. We're going to stand on the 10th stepping stone, 9th stepping stone, 8th stepping stone, 7th stepping stone, 6th stepping stone, and the 5th stepping stone. We begin to emerge into the light. 4th stepping stone, 3rd stepping stone, 2nd stepping stone, 1st stepping stone. And now we're out of the cave and just letting your eyes adjust to the light, taking a breath before turning around and looking where you came from, where you travelled to and came back from, recognizing that journey. As we lie here on the mat, slowly bringing ourselves out of that visualization, feeling your body where it is, on the mat you're on, in the room you're in, and recognizing any emotions or feelings that came out of this practice. For exhaling and letting this practice go. And lying here as long as you need to, before in your own time making any small movements to wake the body up, for rolling onto one side and pushing yourself up to seated. And opening your eyes whenever you're ready to finish this practice.